with the lockdown quarantine that most people are in, a lot of people are finding that a side effect of social distancing is actually enjoying greater connection with the fridge or the chocolate cupboard or the glass of wine at the end of the day, and that it's starting to show up in the waistline. We've been hearing this from quite a few people. And look, if this is you, if this resonates with you, number one, be kind to yourself. I'm about to share with you some insights as to why this happens. It does not mean that there's something wrong with you or that you just don't have enough willpower. It means that you're a human being with a human brain, but there is stuff that you can do about it. And that's the second thing. You are in the right place if this resonates with you. So I'm just going to briefly share some insights, why this is such a common pattern right now, and some strategies that you can start using immediately if you want to shift, okay, so that you can make healthy choices for yourself, or more frequently make healthy choices for yourself if that's what you want. So what many people don't realize is that, as William James once put it, we as human beings are bundles of habits. In fact, almost half of what we do every day is habitual. Now, what does that really mean? It means that almost half of the decisions we make and the actions we take each day, including those in relation to what we eat and drink and exercise and movement and all of that stuff, almost half of those decisions and actions are automatic. Do it without conscious thought. Here's a couple of examples. I'll see if these resonate with you. Walk into the kitchen, open the fridge, check out what's inside, reach in, take out a snack. We don't think about it, we just do it, and often don't even realize consciously that we've done it until we're already munching. Yeah? Here's another example. Had one of those days, split between helping the kids with their schoolwork, distractions around the house, trying to get some of my work done, and then to top it off, I come into the kitchen at the end of the day and there's a pile of dishes and still dinner to prepare, and we hear ourselves saying, I just really need a wine or a beer or whatever, right? And it's just so hard at that point to say no. So, and those are just a couple of examples. Of course, there's plenty. You could probably think of some yourself. But look, what's happening here is that something in the external environment, walking into the kitchen, seeing the pile of dishes, is triggering an automatic response. It's sort of like a subroutine that's been hardwired into your brain, has been switched on. In fact, in a way, that's exactly what's happening, right? And the thing is that in our home environment, there are many, many of these triggers. So it's hardly surprising if being restricted to home for several weeks, they're starting to have an impact, right? And we like to think that it's just about having enough willpower. If I had enough willpower, I'd be able to master it. Well, that's actually just not the case. Willpower runs out, and for most of us, it's run out by the end of the day. We only have a limited amount. And when it comes to habits versus willpower, habits are going to win out over willpower almost every single time, right? Added to that, with the whole coronavirus thing going on, what that's done is sort of increased underlying levels of stress and anxiety for many people, and most people are finding that our normal daily routines are disrupted in some way. And that disruption just means that it just takes more mental energy to get through the day. Right? And so that means that a few things can happen, such as, firstly, our willpower tends to get depleted faster than usual when our energy is lower. So it becomes harder to sort of sidestep those patterns. Another thing is that if we're experiencing negative emotions with everything going on, a bit of anxiety, worry, frustration, because everyone's just on top of each other and, you know, all of this stuff, we can find ourselves turning to particular foods in order to feel better, and that will often be the higher energy foods that, you know, add on inches, right? Or the glass of wine. So that can be something that we turn to for that emotional, that feeling side of things. And the other thing is that when we're using more energy, we find ourselves feeling more tired and with less energy. And there's a kind of survival thing that happens in our brains, because our brains prioritize having enough energy to keep going. So when we're tired and low on energy, that's why we start craving high energy food and drink, like the chocolate cake or the chocolate bar or the cookies or the glass of wine, because alcohol as well is a source of energy too. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen. Now, it's all to do with how we're wired as human beings, okay? But here's the thing. Firstly, be patient with yourself if this is playing out for you. And the second thing is, if this sounds like it's all doom and gloom, oh, this is just the way we are, I can't do anything about it. Not true, because actually, there are a number of things that we can do to disrupt these patterns, tons of them. In fact, habits, just because we have a habit, we can actually change our habits. Now, it takes time and the right kinds of approaches and the right support to help us do it. But in the short run, there's also some things that we want to do, that we can do rather, if you want to get back into a pattern of making healthier choices for yourself. So if that's you, here are I'll just give you a few strategies now. And if you want to dig deeper or want some more strategies, or you have any questions, direct message me and I'd be happy to share some additional tools with you. So look, here's some strategies right now though. The first one is, if you're finding this kind of pattern is playing out, that this habitual eating or drinking happening, and you just find you're not having the willpower to stop it, that suggests that there's a habit-based thing happening there. One of the easiest ways to disrupt that is take some steps to reduce your exposure to the triggers, to avoid them, right? So if we take the kitchen example, if walking into the kitchen automatically triggers a get the snack response, then actually find ways to avoid walking into the kitchen as much. Find a different part of the house to work in. When it's time for a break, instead of going into the kitchen making the cup of tea, which might trigger the snack response, do something else instead. Spend a few minutes with your kids, go for a brisk walk, whatever it is that works for you, right? So that's the first strategy. Be aware, notice what are the things that are triggering these kinds of automatic choices, and be creative and find ways to avoid those triggers. Look, another thing though is to actually avoid the thing, right? So if we find that we're snacking on high energy food, or we're going for that glass of wine at the end of the day, make it harder to get. Either get that stuff out of the house entirely, or make sure you've put it somewhere where it's actually going to take a bit of effort, a bit of energy to access it. Like for me, all of the beer and wine in our house is out in our garage, which is a completely separate building. We've got to walk out into the dark, cold night, open the garage up, get it out from there. So we've got to really want it and take the time to think about it, and actually go and get it, right? Which has made a significant difference. So make it hard to get, make it less accessible, or just don't have it in the house at all. And that makes it much, much easier to avoid, right? So, and the same goes for the snacks, the chocolate, the biscuits, whatever it might be, it's different things for different people, yeah. And look, a third strategy you can use is be aware of, practice being aware. And if you notice that you're slipping into one of these patterns, practice catching yourself when you notice it, and just pausing, taking a few breaths and asking yourself, am I actually hungry? What's really going on here? And if the answer is I'm feeling down, or I'm bored, or I feel tired, try choosing an alternative action that would satisfy that particular need. If I'm feeling down, maybe I'll call a friend instead. If I'm feeling tired, maybe I'll have a power nap, or go for a brisk walk outside in the fresh air to get some oxygen to my brain and get the blood flowing and get my energy back that way. If it's that I'm bored, well, what's an alternative distraction? See if one of the kids wants to play a game, whatever, right? So what I suggest is actually writing a list of actions of things that you could do as alternatives. Even take a minute or two after this video to write down some ideas, and then you've got them up your sleeve already, so that when we catch ourselves getting into those automatic patterns, you're pre-prepared, because that will make it so much easier. Really important too to enlist the help and support of people in your household if you're wanting to make these kinds of shifts, because that also will help a lot. So what I've shared is, of course, the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole lot of things that we can do to be able to thrive even when times are challenging. And look, as I said before, if you'd like to know more, if you've got any questions or you'd like some more strategies, direct message with me. I'll be happy to chat with you and share with you some additional tools. Okay, so thank you for joining me and listening. I do hope that this has served you, and I will catch you soon. Bye for now.